Jump in front of it. Quick, fast. Hey. Hey, y'all can just run.
My name's Melissa Vardis.
Come on.
I own My Spicy Treasures in Denton, Texas.
I know what you are, my friend. And where you're going to, I see the light in you. Whispered out into the gloom. It changes the heart of everyone. It changes the heart of everyone. Oh, 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 oh. I want you to stay with me. We'll fall into a sleep we cannot dream away the pieces of the day, because it changes the heart of everyone. It changes the heart of everyone. Oh, oh, whoa.
I started My Spicy Treasures in 2001. When I started the business, I wanted it to be able to appeal to everybody, you know, whether they were young, old, you know, married, divorced, by themselves, gay, lesbian, you know, whatever, that they came in and felt comfortable. The stigma, you know, that everybody has is that it's trashy, dirty, you don't talk about it, it's, you know, everybody thinks of it as negative, it's the dark secret that nobody ever wants to talk about, but everybody has sex. You know, everybody masturbates. Everybody, you know, in some form or fashion has tried it or wondered about it. You know, most people won't talk about it, or if they do, they're laughing, but, you know, or thinking they're joking around about it, but they're actually answering questions to somebody else or to themselves whenever they're in those type of conversations. And so what I tried to do is get away from like Condoms to Go, Spencer's, you know, where it's all in your face. I went to my first toy party, and it was at a girlfriend's house, and I ended up spending about $150 roughly. I asked her how much she was going to make that night, and she'd told me it was like $300-something for 4 hours. And my bottom dropped. You know, it's kind of like, oh my gosh. And so after we got our, you know, our product, I gave it to my husband, told him to try it. I gave him a week before I asked him, tried mine. You know, that way both of us were a little bit more comfortable. Then I told the woman, I think I can do this. So I went and asked my husband if I could sell sex toys, and he about hit the roof. We have sex with the lights off. You know, I cannot believe you even want to do, you know, don't look down there, don't talk about it. And he said, well, I'm not going to give you any money, I'm not going to front it. You know, look at the Mary Kay, we're still sitting on product, still paying, you know, we were paying on it at the time. And he told me that I had to get it up and going on my own. So the woman helped me get a couple parties. My first show was horrific. Anything that could have went wrong that day did. After that, it was a piece of cake. When I moved the shop from Sunset to Dallas Drive, I told the landlord to make sure and talk to the neighbors to say, hey, you know, let them know that we are a lingerie shop, novelty shop, but, you know, we're going to try to keep it. I made the landlord come over and look at how we had things set up at the other shop on Sunset prior to saying yes. You know, we kind of, you know, it's just one of those common courtesy kind of deals. So that they knew that we weren't trying to be sex shop, you know, where the back room, dirty holes, whatever kind of, you know, connotation people think. So he said as long as we did it, you know, within the same, you know, same kind of setup, that he didn't see an issue with it. I did the sheer curtain so that, yes, you could see in there, but it was, you know, it was basically just so that kids couldn't see, you know, visually see any kind of sexual items, that kind of stuff.
She will go without you asking her. You know, she'll walk on.
All right.
Like Sage.
All right. My daughter, basically, I didn't put her into kindergarten or pre-K or any kind of schooling because I wanted her to be with me. Then in the evenings, whenever I was working the shop, she would have her own little area and be able to play up there. And I didn't want anybody to be able to say that I was subjecting her to sexual images.
You done with that?
No. Or when Bree started school, you know, she decided she wanted to ride horses and whatnot. So, you know, we started doing the horse lessons and everything. As I said, we're still doing some work around here, so. But that's my husband's horse. That one and Bree's, that other paint right over there. They were rescues 4 years ago. I loved unicorns, and I had a friend that had a couple horses, and I'd get a ride when I was in high school, but my mom would never, I'm an Air Force brat, military brat. Both my dads, one was Air Force, the other was Navy, and then my mom retired Air Force, so we could never have one. She always told me it was too expensive. And so when Bree decided she wanted to try riding, we gave her a couple lessons. Then she got ran over. Then we got us one, and she got kicked, and she kept doing it. Yep. And she's a little bit of everything. And then when Jacob came along, I tried to take him up to the shop to where I could work, and I couldn't. Jacob decided he was going to tear the whole shop apart. He'd have the panties, the whole bottom panty rack would be all over the floor. He'd be having them on his head, and the girls would make fun of him. And so, after about 2 weeks of trying that, ended up to where I couldn't take him up there with me unless I had somebody watching him. And then he was hollering and screaming where Bree was quiet. You never even knew she was there. Back it up. Send it up. Run, push up. She decided she wanted to try to play soccer. Don't get in the boxy. Good job. Because most of the soccer association is volunteers. They ended up calling me saying, well, you wrote on here that you'd be available for anything. Can you coach? Well, the first thing I say is, first off, I own My Spicy Treasures. Most parents, I'm sure, will be very put off by that. And they were like, oh, no, I don't think it'll be a big deal. What I told the parents first thing is, I said, listen, I own My Spicy Treasures. Some will be like, oh, cool. And some of them are kind of like, they get the raised eyebrows, and that funny grin. They're like, okay. And I reassure them, if they ask, it's a lingerie shop. That's all Bree tells them, too. It's a lingerie adult shop. So here I am, 6 or 8 seasons later, coaching. It's been a growing experience. It's one of my passions now, I guess. But it's been fun, and it's kind of a stress reliever, I guess, because I do all kinds of stuff. We didn't tell anybody except for my little sister that I was selling sex toys, doing the in-home toy parties. And the other person that I told at first was my stepdad, which I was surprised. He was very much against it at first, not now, but at first he was kind of like, well, what are the kids going to say? You're selling dildos, da-da-da-da-da. It was about 3 years ago when my mother-in-law finally figured out they're very old-fashioned. They want you married. You shouldn't talk about sex. You don't this, don't that. And so when they found out, we knew that they wouldn't have the most positive reaction. And his dad has asked him on multiple occasions when we're going to get rid of it. When are you going to sell it? Kevin's like, well, it's Mrs., business, until she's ready. That's what she's going to do. It's been an interesting business, for somebody that was very much, don't talk about sex, don't look down there, have sex with the lights off. I've learned a bunch, and, we don't judge people on what they're looking for, what they want. I guess the biggest thing is leave your mind open to other things. Not everything is black and white. There's a lot of gray in between, and there's people that are 40 and 50 years old coming in for the first time, buying a toy, and they're kind of like, I wish I would have known this years ago. And it's because they finally are saying, okay, there might be something else out there. Leave your mind open, expand, and don't cut yourself off from any possibility that's out there.
It changes the heart of everyone. Everything I have, I give it all to you. 'Cause everything you are, you give to me.